If you are a public school teacher in one of the 14 states that currently does not pay into Social Security and are receiving a reduced Social Security benefit, or you're a public employee who's receiving a reduced Social Security benefit due to reductions in Social Security from a public pension, then you'll want to watch this video, as I'm going to talk about the recent bill that President Biden signed into law and changes that it may have to the Social Security benefits that you are receiving. Welcome back. This is episode 236. A new bill was just signed into law by President Biden that will increase the Social Security payments for millions of public school teachers and former public employees. The law is named the Social Security Fairness Act, and it repeals a pair of Social Security provisions that limit the Social Security benefits that many public school teachers and public employees receive. In this episode, I'm going to discuss how the bill works, what it could mean for you, give some examples of who it may impact, and then let you know what you'll need to do to make sure that you receive this additional benefit that you may be eligible for. The beginning of the year is often a time where we reflect on our goals for the upcoming year. If one of your goals is to develop a better plan for retirement and hiring a financial advisor to help is on the top of your list, then consider downloading my recent book, Fiduciary. In the book, I walk you through how to find, hire, and establish a trusted relationship with a fee-only financial advisor, as well as many of the pitfalls to look out for when hiring and working with a financial advisor. And I'm currently giving away a full electronic version of the book. Previously, I was only giving away one of the first chapters, but I've decided that I want to get the book out to as many people as I can. So I'm currently giving away a free download of the entire electronic copy of the book. You can still buy a hardcover version if you're interested in that, but if you want a free electronic version, head over to my website, retirewithryan.com, and click on download a free copy of the book. You'll just need to provide me your name and email address. So I've talked about Social Security and teachers in past episodes and some of the problems that Social Security the retired teachers and public employees have had when collecting Social Security. I've talked about my mom in past episode. My mom was a retired teacher. She taught for over 30 years in the state of Connecticut. Unfortunately, she recently passed away after a 3.5-year battle with bile duct cancer. But I'm happy to see that this bill is going into effect and will benefit millions of teachers and public school employees going forward. So what exactly is this bill? Well, it's called the Social Security Fairness Act. And as I said before, it impacts roughly 2.8 million people in the United States. And it impacts teachers in 14 states. There are teachers in 14 states that are currently exempt from paying into Social Security. It's not anything that the teachers decided. It's something that the states decided long ago. Many of these states have their own retirement plan, and they decided years ago to save money rather than the states, that is, having to pay money both into Social Security and into the teacher's pension system. They exempted themselves out, or their employees, from paying into Social Security. So that means both the state, being the employer, and the employee of the teacher is not paying into Social Security. So there's definitely some savings there, but what it's done negatively is impacted the benefits that these teachers are eligible to receive based off their own benefit and based off a survivor benefit. There's also a number of public employees that work for different towns, states, municipalities that may also be impacted because these towns or municipalities or states have also decided to exempt their employees from Social Security, therefore reducing the Social Security benefit that they're eligible for. So this bill repeals two Social Security provisions, one being the windfall elimination provision and the other one being the government pension offset. Let me just briefly explain how those work. The windfall elimination provision applies to the Social Security benefit that you're eligible to receive based off your own earnings record. So if you're a teacher, let's say in the state of Connecticut, and you had no previous other work history, then, or let me take a step back. If you're a teacher in Connecticut and you had previous work history, let's say my mom, for example, you worked in another job before teaching, and let's say it shows on your Social Security statement that you're eligible for a $1,000 Social Security benefit. Well, based off the number of years that you worked in a job not paying into Social Security, There's a formula that determines how much of your Social Security benefit you're actually eligible for. And the maximum reduction last year was $587. So for many teachers or many state employees that are exempt from Social Security, even though you worked in another job where you paid into Social Security, you're getting a reduced Social Security benefit. So this is one person that this will impact. This WEP reduction will go away. Another thing is called the government pension offset. And this is a provision that also applies to either spouses of people who are eligible for a spousal Social Security benefit or a survivor benefit. So the way that this works is if you take 2/3 of your pension that you receive from a job that you didn't pay into Social Security wages for. So my previous example, a teacher in the state of Connecticut or a teacher in a number of other states. And let's say you take 2/3 of that pension and you're eligible for a Social Security benefit, survivor benefit, or spousal benefit. You only receive the amount of that benefit that's higher than 2/3 of your pension. So obviously this knocked out a lot of spousal benefits for teachers or public sector employees who were exempt from paying into Social Security and also received a pension that they did not pay Social Security wages on. So a number of people that this impacts. When does it go into effect? Well, it's going into effect retroactive from January 1st, 2024. So that means that if you were collecting Social Security last year and you were impacted by either of these provisions, you're supposed to get a retroactive payment going back to the beginning of last year. So that will be a nice bonus for a lot of people. Social Security hasn't said, and this really hasn't been worked out, whether this is going to be a lump sum, whether this will be paid over time, that is yet to be determined. So how much could this benefit you? Well, I talked earlier about the maximum windfall elimination provision reduction, which last year was $587. So that's probably the maximum it could impact you if you were a teacher who's receiving a Social Security benefit on your own record. As a spouse, let's say you have no work record, meaning you didn't work in another job that you paid into Social Security before going into a job as a public school teacher or a state employee where you were exempt from paying into Social Security, then it could be hundreds or even thousands of dollars of benefits that you might be eligible for. And let me give you some examples of how that works. So let's first talk about a spousal benefit. So let's say we have a couple, Jim and Judy, and Jim worked in a job where he paid into Social Security wages, and he's currently receiving $3,000 a month from Social Security. Judy worked as a teacher, let's say, for 30 years. She never paid into Social Security. So if she were to go on Social Security and look up her own earnings record, it shows zero. Judy is currently also retired, and she's collecting a teacher's retirement pension of $3,000 a month. So in this example, Judy would normally be eligible for a spousal benefit. But if we take her spousal benefit, which would be 2/3 of that $3,000, which would be $2,000, she's only going to receive the amount of the spousal benefit, which would be higher of 2/3 of her pension. So in this example, the normal spousal benefit, the way it works is because Judy doesn't have any work history, she'd be eligible for up to half of Jim's full retirement Social Security benefit. So let's just say that's half of Jim's current benefit, so $1,500. Well, because that $1,500 isn't higher than 2/3 of of her pension, 2/3 of $3,000 is $2,000, she doesn't receive any spousal benefit. But with the repeal of this windfall elimination provision and the government pension offset due to the Social Security Fairness Act, she should be eligible for that full $1,500 a month. So that can be a major windfall for Jim and Judy because now she's eligible for an additional Social Security spousal benefit that she normally previously wasn't eligible for. What about a single person? Let's say we have Jane, and her pension is $3,000 a month that she's collecting from a job that she worked at where she was exempt from Social Security wages. We'll assume she's also a teacher. But she also taught at a private school before she worked in the public sector and was paying into Social Security. And she did that for a number of years, and she sees on her Social Security statement that she should be eligible for $1,000 a month. Well, let's just say that she doesn't have more than 30 years of work history, because that's the amount that you have to not have the maximum Social Security reduction, that windfall elimination provision reduction. Well, she's getting her Social Security benefit reduced by $587 a month. So she's not getting $1,000. She's getting about $413 a month. Well, once this goes into effect, she's going to get the full $1,000 a month, because she's not going to have that windfall elimination provision reduction at all. And this windfall elimination provision, as I said, it could be the maximum for you, but maybe it's less. So you'll have to check with Social Security to see how much of an increase you might get if you're being impacted by the windfall elimination provision. So the final example I'll use is how a Social Security survivor benefit will work. So normally, as a Social Security survivor, you're eligible to take over the hire of your own benefit or your spouse's benefit when your spouse passes away. So we'll just use an example of Sarah. Sarah's receiving a pension from working as a teacher that she didn't pay Social Security wages into, and that pension is currently $4,500 a month. Her husband, John, died 2 years ago at the age of 70, and he was receiving $2,900 a month from Social Security. So because Sarah's now eligible for Social Security survivor benefit, but she's also receiving a pension that was exempt from Social Security wages, we have to first take 2/3 of her pension to determine how much of a survivor benefit she'd be eligible for. So 2/3 of $4,500 is $2,970. So because his benefit is $2,900 a month, Sarah receives zero Social Security survivor benefit, because that $2,900 is not higher than 2/3 of her pension, or $2,970. But with the repeal of the government pension offset, which is one of the two provisions that are being repealed by the Social Security Fairness Act, Sarah should be eligible to receive the full survivor benefit of $2,900. So this is a massive windfall for Sarah, because of the fact that she's now eligible for the full spousal benefit. So this is how powerful this is for a lot of teachers, or a lot of people that worked for public sector jobs that were exempt from paying into Social Security wages, and are either eligible for a spousal benefit or survivor benefit, or if they're eligible for their own benefit but are being impacted by a windfall elimination provision. So I am very excited to see that this is finally gone through and is now gone into law, because it was something that had been talked about for years. These bills had been proposed in Congress for a number of years, but they never made it all the way through. And I'm happy to see that it made it all the way through and is now going into effect, retroactive for 2024 going forward. So it's going to help a lot of people. So what if you're impacted by this? What do you need to do? Well, according to Social Security, there's a statement on their website, and I'll share a link to this in this podcast episode. If you go to retirewithryan.com/podcast/236, because this is episode 236, I'll put a link in there. And so according to Social Security, if you have previously filed, you should just verify that you have the current mailing address on file and that your direct deposit information has not changed. And you can do this by either going online, logging into your account, ssa.gov, my account, or you can call Social Security at 1-800-772-1213, or you could visit a local office. So what I'm assuming there is that Social Security is just going to send you the money if you've already applied. Let's say you haven't ever filed for Social Security. Maybe you didn't file because you didn't think you were eligible for a spousal benefit, or you weren't eligible for a survivor benefit. Then you want to make sure that you file an application. And you can either go online to do this, or you can schedule an appointment. So you want to make sure that you do that, either if you haven't ever filed, or making sure that your information is correct so that you don't miss out on this money. I'm not sure how quickly Social Security will get the money out. Hopefully it will come rather quickly, but it's something that's coming in the near future. So again, this is great news for public school teachers or public sector employees who were negatively impacted by this. This is something that Congress put into play 40 years ago, and it was really to prevent federal employees from double dipping, being eligible for a federal pension, and then switching over into the private sector and getting Social Security. But it had some really negative impacts to teachers, especially survivors, Social Security survivor benefits of teachers. So I'm glad to see that this is being overturned. Make sure to spread the word about this if you have a friend or family member who you think is impacted by this, so they're aware of this and they're eligible to receive the money that they qualify for. So as a reminder, head over to retirewithryan.com to download a free copy of my book, or if you have a listener question you want to have considered for your future episode, you can also leave it by clicking on Ask a Question. Have a great week, and I look forward to talking with you next Tuesday. Take care.